There's a quiet truth most people don't talk about. The biggest difference between two people standing in the same room isn't talent. It isn't discipline. It isn't even luck. It's how they think. I used to believe success was about working harder than everyone else. But over time, I started noticing something unsettling. Some people worked just as hard, yet stayed stuck. Others didn't seem extraordinary at first glance, but they kept rising, not because they had better opportunities, but because they had better thinking frameworks. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Today, I want to walk through 7 high-level thinking models, not as theories, but as lenses, ways of seeing the world that quietly shape outcomes over decades. Let's begin. 1. Adaptive thinking. One of the most underrated traits in life is adaptability. During World War II, Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, noticed something profound. It wasn't always the strongest prisoners who survived. It wasn't even the healthiest. It was often those who could psychologically adapt, those who could find meaning inside chaos. Frankl later wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that everything can be taken from a person except the freedom to choose one's response. That's adaptive thinking. It's the difference between asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and asking, "Given that this is happening, how do I move with it?" The mosquito doesn't fight the wind, it moves around it. Adaptive thinkers don't waste energy resisting reality. They adjust. When industries shift, they reskill. When relationships change, they recalibrate. When life collapses, they rebuild differently. Not stubborn, not fragile, flexible. And in a world changing faster every year, flexibility is power. 2. Probability thinking. During the World War II, statistician Abraham Wald was asked to help reinforce Allied bombers. Engineers showed him planes returning from missions covered in bullet holes. They wanted to reinforce those damaged areas. Wald said no. He suggested reinforcing the areas with no bullet holes. Why? Because those were the planes that didn't return. That's probability thinking. It asks, what am I not seeing? Most people judge outcomes emotionally. They see someone fail and assume incompetence. They see someone succeed and assume genius. Probability thinkers look at patterns over time. They understand risk. They understand survivorship bias. They understand that one event means nothing without context. When you think in probabilities, you stop overreacting. You stop assuming every mistake is disaster, and you stop assuming every win is permanent. You start playing the long game. 3. Long-term thinking. In 2006, Jeff Bezos wrote to Amazon shareholders explaining why they would continue sacrificing short-term profit for long-term dominance. Most investors hated it, but Bezos wasn't optimizing for quarterly applause. He was optimizing for decades. Long-term thinkers ask a simple question: what does this decision look like 5 years from now? Most people live reactively. Long-term thinkers live architecturally. They invest when others consume. They build reputation slowly. They protect credibility fiercely. Warren Buffett once said, "It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it." Long-term thinking isn't flashy. It's patient. It trades immediate gratification for compounded advantage. And compounding in relationships, skills, health, trust is where real power lives. 4. Ideal state thinking. A lighthouse doesn't chase ships. It stands firm. Ideal state thinkers clarify the direction first, before acting. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't begin with tactics. He began with vision. "I have a dream." He described a future so clearly that millions aligned with it. Most people drift because they never define their internal lighthouse. They chase money without defining freedom. They chase status without defining meaning. Ideal state thinking asks, what kind of person am I becoming through this? Not just, What am I achieving? And once that lighthouse is clear, decisions simplify. Because you measure actions against alignment, not applause. 5. Inversion thinking. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's partner, often said, "All I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there." That's inversion thinking. Instead of asking, "How do I succeed?" you ask, "How do I fail?" Instead of asking, "How do I build a great relationship?" you ask, "What destroys relationships?" Often clarity comes faster when you flip the question. Avoiding stupidity is easier than achieving brilliance. Inversion thinking protects you from blind spots. It's defensive intelligence. And in life, avoiding major mistakes often matters more than chasing major wins. Anti-fragile thinking. Nassim Nicholas Taleb introduced the concept of anti-fragility. Some things break under stress. Some resist stress. But anti-fragile systems grow stronger because of stress. The human immune system is anti-fragile. So is entrepreneurship. So is character, if handled correctly. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. When asked about failure, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Anti-fragile thinkers reframe adversity. They ask, "What is this teaching me?" Not in a motivational way, but in a structural way. How is this refining my judgment, strengthening my resilience, exposing weak assumptions? Pressure reveals structure, and anti-fragile minds use pressure as training. 7. Environmental thinking. Most people believe success is about willpower, but environment often beats willpower. James Clear writes in Atomic Habits that behavior is heavily shaped by environment. If junk food is visible, you eat it. If books are visible, you read. Warren Buffett still lives in the same modest house in Omaha. He built an environment that supports calm, focus, long-term investing. Environmental thinkers ask, "Who am I becoming because of where I spend my time?" You absorb your surroundings, your 5 closest relationships, your daily media diet, your work culture. Change the environment, and behavior shifts almost automatically. It's leverage. The real advantage. When I look back at my own life, the biggest shifts didn't come from new opportunities. They came from new thinking models. Adaptive when life shifted, probabilistic when fear showed up, long-term when temptation appeared, ideal state when direction blurred, inversion when risk hid, anti-fragile when stress hit, environmental when habits stalled. Success isn't an event, it's accumulated thinking. And maybe that's the quiet truth. Your life rarely rises above your dominant thinking model. So the real question isn't, "How do I get ahead?" It's, "How do I think better?" Because once your thinking evolves, your results follow, almost quietly. And that's the kind of success that lasts.